How do you compete against the mountains of content created by AI? Should you even compete? I would argue not directly. There's little point. But what you do is you work out what AI can't create and you go all in on that. Well, let's find out more. You're listening to the Content 10x podcast, where it's all about content repurposing. I'm Amy Woods and I'm here to help you maximize your content and find smart ways to get your message in front of more of the right people, whilst also saving time. Let's get started. Hello and welcome to the Content 10x podcast. I'm your host, Amy Woods, and I'm delighted that you have joined me today. Whether you're a regular listener, in which case welcome back, or a new listener, in which case you are very welcome here and I hope you enjoy the show. Now, on the Content 10x podcast, we like to focus on B2B content marketing and specifically how to maximize, distribute and repurpose content. We want to find the ways to work smarter and get maximum ROI from the awesome content that we create. In this episode of the podcast, I'm going to dig a bit deeper into something that I mentioned in episode 321, my predictions episode, and in my last episode with Andy Crestodina, which was a fantastic interview. The topic of creating content for B2B that AI cannot create came up, and I want to dig into that further. So I'll share why it's important to create content that AI can't create, the types of content that you should focus on in B2B, and where the repurposing opportunities lie. Before I get to the main content, just to mention, if you want content repurposing tips and guidance, industry updates, inspiring stories and exclusive news delivered straight to your inbox every other week, then join thousands of marketers, business owners and creators and become a Content 10x insider. Just head to content10x.com/newsletter. Okay, so back to the main topic, creating content that AI can't create. AI is great for lots of things. It's good for helping with generating ideas. It's really good at spotting gaps. It's good at reviewing content, all as long as you provide really good prompts. But in my view, it's not there to create content for you. As Andy Crestodina said in my interview with him in my last episode 321, AI should really stand for average information when it comes to creating content. But sadly, content is becoming commoditized. We do see lots of AI-generated content. And as such, we see low quality, undifferentiated content. Now, there are two aspects that I want you to consider. First, for thought leadership content, you shouldn't be asking AI to write blog posts or white papers or social media posts. If AI created it, then it's said before, and it's been said many, many times. It's not your tone, it's not unique. Your audience could have just asked AI in the first place. So this isn't thought leadership content. Second, if you do create your own piece of content, but then you find that AI can write a better piece than you, then you have to ask yourself if that was the right content for you to create. For example, a really simple how-to guide, how-to piece of content. Maybe you do just need to leave that kind of content to AI. So with this in mind, we need to instead create content that AI cannot create. We create undifferentiated, unique, nuanced and high quality content. This kind of content has depth and richness, and you should go narrow with the topic, extensively cover a particular topic. Now, ideally, start with long form content. So it may be written, video, audio, and make it detailed and comprehensive. There should be visual appeal. If it's a blog post, it can't just be huge chunks of text. It needs to resemble a social feed, so lots of graphics and images and screenshots and maybe even videos. It should be structured really well, really clear, scannable with subheadings and links, and it'll be content with a strong personal perspective and include expert quotes, offer unique insights. This is the kind of content that you should spend time on. From an SEO perspective, as Andy Crestodina said, it would be content with visit website intent. So people will want to click when they see it in search and go deeper and actually read the content. So what does that look like? Well, firstly, expert interviews. Now, I'm not going to say too much here on expert interviews because On the Content 10x podcast, we are about to record a multi-episode series all about expert interviews, and we'll cover what they are, how to prepare for them, how to record them, how to repurpose them, and how to distribute the content. So for now, I'll say identifying experts in your organization and interviewing them can fuel a mountain of new, high-quality, unique, undifferentiated content. Video record those interviews and you have so much to work with. Next, maybe a detailed how-to guide, so for something a lot more complicated than what Perplexity or ChatGPT or Claude could reel off. For example, if you work in the automotive industry, a simple how-to guide on how to change a flat tyre is a highly searched item, but what's the point? AI will win with that one. You wouldn't even get a click. But something like how to diagnose, rebuild, and tune a high-performing engine for racing, that would be seriously detailed. And would you really trust AI, so trust a bot to tell you how to do that? I don't think so. So you would dig deep into an expert piece of content. Now, next, original research. So reports, white papers, you can't really beat this type of content. It's completely undifferentiated and unique, and you can create so much content once you have created a report. For more on this, check out episode 297. It's called 7 Steps to Transform Your B2B Report with Daniel Plume. And there's also episode 237, another fantastic episode called The 4 R's of Repurposing Research with Michelle Lynn. There's so much to discuss with this topic because it's just so good. Original research is fantastic for creating and then repurposing content. So next, in terms of the types of content that you can create that AI can't create, would be podcasts and webinars. Now, this can be interviewing experts within organizations and within your industry, like the expert interviews that I've already mentioned. Now, there I was talking about your own thought leadership and internal expert interviews for generating content. Those interviews can, of course, become podcast episodes and so much more. Or you could have a podcast where you interview outside experts. So these conversations are definitely going to be unique. Or your podcast or webinar could be solo casts or co-hosted conversations, discussing tips, advice, news, observations, and so on, either super niche on particular topics or more general. Now, this is great content to create and it's highly repurposable. Next is live streams. So going live, either delivering a live webinar or doing a live stream on, say, YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram, is without doubt something that AI can't create. There's nothing really more human than a human-run live stream, is there? With the drive for more authenticity in content and the battle against mundane AI content, I really do think that live stream content is going to come back into popularity even more once again. We have a few episodes on repurposing live streams here on the Content 10x podcast that you might want to check out. So there's the interview that we had with our awesome client, Matt Pierce at TechSmith. That's episode 176 called Why You Should Repurpose Your Live Stream Videos. And then there's also episode 186 called Live Stream Repurposing, the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. I think you'll find them really useful if you're going to jump into creating more live content and you want to know ways to really maximize and repurpose that content as well. And then there's events again. You're not going to see a large language model hold an event. There's nothing more human really, is there, than events. Whether it's a live event or virtual or maybe hybrid, events create lots of unique content. And there's the community building aspect to events too. They tick so many boxes. So this is definitely content that AI just can't create. It's really unique and there's lots and lots of repurposed content there after. Episode 225 with a fantastic client of ours, this time Mark Hoover, when he was at Metadata, and we talked about how we work together to repurpose their virtual event called Demand. So that episode is called How to Repurpose a Virtual Event. So go check that out, episode 225, content10x.com/225. Then there's collaborative content, so the joining of creators and experts together. So co-creating video content or blog posts or research. AI is not going to create this content either. It's usually formed from experts and has very personal perspectives, and it can be really in-depth and narrow in focus as well. And the final content I want to mention here is influencer content. So working with influencers to create content, running influencer campaigns, drawing on the uniqueness of influencers and agreeing on differentiated content that will help you with brand awareness amongst other specific content goals. So all of this content that I have mentioned here that you should be creating, content that AI can't create, can be repurposed and maximized. I've mentioned lots of resources that we have already on this, and you can check out the Content 10x podcast and blog. But the great news is that if you focus on core, long-form quality content that is more valuable and engaging and comprehensive than generic AI-generated content, then your repurposed content thereafter will have all of those positive traits as well. Coming up on the Content 10x podcast is a 5-part series, and I'll be joined by a co-host, Hayley Evans, who heads up our marketing operations here at Content 10x. And we're going to focus on expert interviews and why we think they are so powerful. So we'll cover what we mean by expert interviews, so what they are. We'll talk about how to prepare for them. We'll talk about how to run a perfect expert interview for maximum content opportunities. And then we'll talk about all the content that you can create and repurpose from hosting expert interviews in your company. So that's coming up next on the Content 10x podcast. Now, just to mention, if you want help with your content, whether that's running expert interviews like I just mentioned, or help with a podcast or blog posts or video content, white papers, events, reports, we've got you covered. We offer content strategy and consultative support, fully end-to-end content repurposing and distribution, and content creation services. So just head to content10x.com/services to find out more about how we at Content 10x can help you. So there we have it. I hope you enjoyed this episode. All that's left to say is thank you so much for listening, and I'll catch you in the next one.